Hey guys, what's up? So today, the video I have for you is kind of a food for thought video, and it's going to be talking about the very far out, very distant expansion for Monster Hunter Wilds. And hear me out, the title and subtext I'm going with would be Monster Hunter Wilds Depths. I think that'd be kind of cool. And okay, let me work you guys into this. So for depths, because they added areas in Monster Hunter Wilds that you can actually go underwater and like explore and collect and do whatever, that leads me to believe they're kind of got a handle on underwater and how that works. Which, to be fair, 15 years ago, when Tri came out, they did say on record, and by they I mean the producer of Tri, said that underwater was kind of a pain to work with and like implement, but they would like to try again later when I guess technology had advanced more or something like that. Something along those lines. Again, 15 years ago, that's a big time jump. I feel like they could. That would also allow us to bring back a lot of monsters that had not been seen since the third generation. Monsters like Golbul, monsters like. Well, I guess Royal Ludroth has been seen, but underwater specifically. Lagiacrus, we don't know, is coming back. We could get back Ivory, we could get back. What is it? Abyssal. And then I know they said they didn't want to do any Elder Dragons, but we could technically get back Sidaeus. And then other monsters too that, you know, are amphibious. So like Tetranodon, Tetsucabra. You could stretch and say Tidal and Narharala because there are sea snakes that swim underwater. And then we have the crabs, which are amphibious. We have Plesioth, which is amphibious as well. There's actually quite a few monsters that are amphibious or have the ability to go underwater that could benefit from having a actual water-based expansion. And then other things like Mizu, or Mitsunine, I don't know how to say it, but would actually be able to fight underwater. I might blow somebody's mind out there, but technically Mizu has never been fought underwater. Mizu has never been in a game where underwater combat was a thing. And the other thing is that we got a lot of monsters in Wilds that were new monsters that represent, you know, sea creatures. Like we have, what is it? New Udra, I think is the octopus. And then we had Zuwu, which is just, it's kind of like a Bloodborne thing, but it's still got those octopus limbs and stuff. I bet they would do fine underwater. And let's see. Usduna wouldn't be such a garbage fight if you could fight it underwater in its natural environment. And I know I mentioned Plesioth earlier. I know a lot of people are going to get like PTSD or whatever, but I personally didn't think Plesioth was that bad when you could fight it underwater. When you could go and chase it into the water, I didn't think it was that bad. I think the annoyance came from constantly have to wait for it to come back up on land or having to like bait it out with the I forget how you did it. You did it with a Sonic Pod or you did it with like a frog. I could be mixing up Golbul with. But I knew there was a way to bait out Plesioth from, what is it, Freedom Unite? When it's in that one cave. The other thing I wanted to mention was the other mechanics that have been introduced since Tri has come out. We had a game with Wire Bugs, we had a game with a Clutch Claw, and then we had a game with different styles. these all are things that could make underwater less quote unquote clunky. Which I don't think it would feel clunky, especially 15 years later. And even then, like I played Tri semi recently on the emulator, and it didn't feel bad fighting underwater. I think people just overreacted and complained because that's what people do the best. And not to be that guy, but I feel like you can only do so much with on land monsters. To me personally, a lot of the land monsters are getting kind of stale. Personally, the last interesting on land fight we got, for me, was Luna Garen and Malzeno. And then before that, it was probably either Ignactor or Narharala. Ignactor because that was the first time I ever saw the armor mechanic in the game, where like it cools off and becomes like hard as a rock, and then it goes into the lava. And just for people who don't know how Ignactor works, it's basically how Pleza, or not Pleza, what the fuck is it called? Lavasioth works in World. That, for those of you who don't know, Lavasioth was literally the mechanic for Ignactor, and they just slapped it on him instead of putting Ignactor in. I think Ignactor was supposed to be in the game because Lavasioth didn't have that in the prior games, but they couldn't make it work, just like Legiacris, because the skeleton was like fucked up or whatever. But and then obviously Narharala, because it's the only snake wyvern still, I'm pretty sure. So it has a whole different skeleton, and I think that fight is actually really fun. I think it's really cool how it fights like a snake, and it feels unique. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of put this out here because they announced Legiacris was coming back, and I know a lot of people were saying that they didn't really want Legiacris to come back unless they brought back Underwater, and it's not like we're getting Ivory Legiacris, which is the more land-based Legiacris. We're getting regular Legiacris. So, to me, that seems like a perfect stepping stone for the expansion to include Abyssal or something, or bring back Abyssal or whatever. Like, that's what they did in World and Iceborne. They had Legiana, and then they had Shrieking Legiana, and then I'm trying to think of other, I guess, Basil, and then they had Seething Basil and this and that. So yeah, I mean, there's plenty of monsters they could use that are amphibious or underwater only, or you know, wouldn't actually work underwater, like Mizu, that never got to. I was gonna say you could add like a water version of Nibblesnarf, but that's basically just Golball. I'm pretty sure they're the same thing. I think they're related in some way. There's also Zamtrios, which is like a shark. You could use that. That could be like the underwater version of Palumu. Kind of. And then you could even do something like that, where if it has ice-based powers like Zamtrios, it could go underwater and then like freeze all the ice around you, and then you would have to either escape or get frozen and then get attacked or something. That sounds really annoying, but I don't know. I was just spitballing here. But yeah, I mean, that's basically the whole video, just food for thought. Hopefully, I'm one of the people who actually love Underwater. I thought it was cool. I thought it was fine. I don't know why I got so much hate. I think Try It was literally the game that was not, hated that much because of the 18 monsters that returned. Only 3, or of the 18 monsters in that game, only 3 of them were returning monsters, and those were Rathalos, Raytheon, and Diablos. Every other monster in that game was a brand new monster. And since we haven't seen half of those in God knows how long, because Underwater is missing, then, it would make it feel new again. For a lot of people, because a lot of people didn't play 3rd gen Or if they did, they only played in portable third. But yeah, done yapping. Let me know what you guys think. I'll see you guys later.